Hi, Urmi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, we're going to be talking about the one book that you've written, but before we do that, tell us a little bit about who you are, your backstory, and what made you write this book.
Sure, it will be my pleasure. My name is Urmi, and I live in Montreal, and I currently work in the financial services industry. I am a full-time employee, but I'm also a self-published author, a blogger, a YouTuber, a speaker. And my book is called Discovering Your Identity, A Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. And basically in this book, I talk about my life in Italy. I do tell people that I am Italian by birth and Bengali by blood, and my book is literally about that. Basically make a comparison of what it felt like to grow up in Italy while also being a South Asian woman. And so I make contrast and contrast between the two cultures. And my book is all about it's mainly reflections on how it was for me to grow up in Italy while I was growing up also in a South Asian household.
I see. I see. And what part of South Asia are your parents from?
Bangladesh.
So when did they move to Italy from Bangladesh?
Um, I don't remember the exact year, but it was basically around 1987 or 1988. And they basically moved a couple of years after their marriage. And they basically, the idea was that they wanted to go to like somewhere outside of Bangladesh, and they were hesitating between a couple of countries. And then they chose Italy, and they basically moved to Sicily because back then it was much easier to move there. So that's where they settled. And then a couple of years later, I was born. And we lived pretty much our whole life in Italy, but we moved a lot within Italy. So we never like actually, we didn't stay uh, a long time in Sicily. We stayed there for 9 years, and then we moved to the north to have a better opportunity, a better life. So.
Okay. And that's where you went to school and all that?
Yeah, so I went to many schools. That's the thing. Like I did a little bit of my elementary in the south, and then I did a little bit of my high school in the north. So we were living in Milan at the end. And then now my parents moved to UK, and I moved to Canada, and in Canada did my university.
Cool. I take it you speak three languages then.
Actually, I speak 4.5 languages.
Okay, cool. French is one of them, I take it.
Exactly. French is one of them. And then there is, of course, Bengali, there is Italian, there is English, and there is the half is Spanish, which is a language that I learned because of as a hobby. And when I was in Italy, I also learned how to speak German, but I lost it because I did not practice it enough. So I never mentioned that German it's a language that I know because in reality I actually do not know much of it anymore.
Wow, very impressive. You're bound to go places just on your languages alone.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, about your book.
Discovering Your Identity, a Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. The reason why I wrote this book, it was more because I wanted to get a lot of my ideas that I had in my mind out there. I was invited to many podcasts, and a lot of the time they will always ask me about this, about my identity. And it is a struggle that I went through when I was a kid because in Italy there are not that many immigrant kids. And so I was one of the few people that were not, they did not look Italian. So I was very much aware of that. And often in times I did struggle trying to assimilate myself because I was like, I don't look like them. And so there was an identity crisis there, which wasn't something that I paid too much attention until I actually grew up and became an adult, which was a concern for me. And so in Italy, basically, like my parents, of course, are Bengali, they're from Bangladesh, and they, of course, want me to be the like a particular like Bengali woman. And my whole life I went to an Italian school. I only had Italian friends. So there was a lot of struggle there because I was like, I don't feel enough of either either one. I never felt I was Italian enough. I never felt I was Bengali enough. And oftentimes the two cultures would clash against each other. Because of course my parents taught me certain things, but then at school I was learning different things, and that's why I was like, I don't know if I'm not sure how to identify myself. And I remember that when I would be among my Italian friends, they would tell me, no, you're Italian, you're fully Italian because you're born in Italy. But deep inside, I knew that I wasn't, because my blood wasn't Italian. I did not look Italian. And then when I would be at home, of course, my parents, everyone else around me, like from the whole Bengali community, they would tell me, you're Bengali, that your blood is Bengali. But then I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, because I'm like, I have a different mentality, because I was born in Italy, I grew up in Italy. So even there, I never agreed with that. And then when I moved to Canada, that was another struggle too, because people would ask me like, oh, where are you from? And that's where I was like, I'm not too sure where to go with this answer. Sometimes I would say, oh, I'm from Italy, but then they will look at me and be like, are you sure? Like, you don't look Italian. And I never liked that they were questioning that. And so I would change my answer accordingly and be like, oh yeah, I'm from Bangladesh. And they were like, are you sure about that? Because you have like a very strong like Italian accent or like a Latino accent when you speak English. And I was like, why is everyone questioning where I'm from? And so that was what triggered me to think a little bit about myself and who I am. And then what happened is I started to listen to different podcasts. I started to watch YouTube, and I started to see that there were a lot more people like me that struggle with this, because throughout this whole journey, I used to think that it's me not feeling like I'm not normal, that I'm feeling this, that I'm not feeling enough of like either one. And then as I started to be part of community, as I started to see people on Instagram who I was following, I could see they also felt the same way. Like there is this whole concept called the third culture kid. And that's exactly how I feel like this is where I fit in. Like I'm not completely Italian, I'm not completely Bengali, I'm a fusion of both of them. So the book is literally about that. Like I talk about a lot of the things that I talk in the book is mainly about my own experience growing up in Italy. I talk about what it felt like going to school, what it felt like having Italian friends. And then I talk about how at the end I embrace both cultures and I just make it part of me. And so that's my identity. That's why I always tell people I am Italian Bengali. I never say I'm Italian or I'm Bengali. And I feel like here in Canada, I was able to get to that point because Canada, it is such a multicultural country where you have a little bit of everything. And this is where I feel like I can see a lot more of myself. Whereas in Italy, I couldn't see that. And it's not because it's Italy's fault. It's just that there are not that many immigrant kids. So that's about it.
Yeah. So is your book geared towards women specifically?
It's geared a little bit more towards women because I do talk a lot from the perspective of a South Asian woman. And the reason why I say that is because South Asian women are seen a certain way in the South Asian culture. There is a certain expectation on what they should be. And there is a lot of gender stereotypes, which is not something that is we don't have it in other cultures, but we do have it in the South Asian culture. So I do speak it from that perspective. Things like how, my parents wished I was a boy, for instance, and I'm thinking I can do the same thing as a boy, things like that. So it is a little bit geared towards women, but I'm anyone can benefit from it because I do talk about my own struggle and finding my identity.
How did writing the book help you?
I would say it made me feel a bit more empowered because I never felt completely comfortable talking about these things, but I'm glad that I did because I think there is strength in my own vulnerability. And so I felt it was therapeutic because I was just writing down, things that had happened to me when I was a child. So it was just me talking about my childhood experience. So for me, it was very therapeutic. And I think it just made me a bit more empowered, a bit more confident. And now, I feel less worried about talking about this, for instance, in podcasts. So I actually enjoyed a lot the process because it also made me go through my own childhood. And, it was just yeah, I have those memories, but now I have something concrete that even if I forget, I can always go back to my book and recall those moments, basically.
Yeah. Well, isn't the modern world wonderful? I mean, not only do we have the ability to self-publish, but then you can go on all self-produced podcasts like this one and the other ones you've been on, and get your voice out there and then feel confident. I think overall this is a wonderful thing.
Yes, yeah, that's the beauty about the times now is that you can basically publish your own thing. You can, you know, have your own YouTube channel and talk about the things you want. And then that's why I also have my YouTube channel. And it was also something that I was never 100% comfortable with because I was like, I don't know if I want my face to be out there. But you know what? With time, I became a bit more confident, and I like the fact that we have these tools and this means to get our voices out there and exposed and maybe help other people as well who are struggling with the same thing as you.
Absolutely, no question about it. So your YouTube channel, what kind of things do you do on there?
Basically, I am someone who's very much who's more about like self-learning, self-development, like achieve your own things on your own. Don't wait for other people. And I do have a big passion for languages. So what happened is I have a lot of interviews on my YouTube channel where I invite people that are teaching languages, and we talk about like in what ways people can learn languages. And these people are like professor, language coaches, tutors. So I have a lot of that. And then I talk a lot about the CFA designation, which is basically a designation that you get in the financial services industry that you need to work in certain in certain jobs. And basically, I give like study tips, like how can you study for the exams, or what resources can you use, and things like that. And of course, like self-development. So I'm like, it's a channel that I started like a year, so I'm still like trying to find the actual niche. But I want to focus more like on career, self-development, language learning, study tips, and things like that.
Okay. And so what you're using now, the camera and the microphone, that's what you use to do your YouTube channel? Do you ever do live streams, or is it all is it recorded? How does it work?
It's all pre-recorded on Zoom. I'm not that far with like live streams yet, but I do some lives on Instagram because I am a volunteer for this organization called Women in Leadership, and basically I'm the social media lead. And there we have like live sessions with the members of the community where I actually manage all the lives. I do the research on the people that we have to interview, and then we have these lives with these other women, and I basically have conversation with them where I talk to them about their career, any particular struggles they had in their career, what women in leadership means to them, what tips can they provide to other women. So I do lives there, which because it's a bit more a bit more comfortable with that, and it's a bit easier. I haven't done them yet on YouTube.
Hmm. Yeah, it's live is a little difficult. I'm a post-production guy all the way. Now, during the pandemic, how did it affect you?
Here's the thing. I'm a person who likes to do a lot of volunteering. So the thing that affected me the most was the fact that I couldn't volunteer because before the pandemic, I used to volunteer for two places. One was the Montreal Children's Hospital, and the second one was this other organization where I would provide friendly visits to elderly people with loss of mobility. So those were the two things I couldn't do. And so then was like, you know what? I have to find a way to give back to the community while being at home. And so I started to become creative and started to be like, okay, what can I do? So I started to do a lot of virtual volunteering activities. And that's also when I created my blog and YouTube channel. So for me, it was a self-discovery because I feel like if it wasn't for the pandemic, I don't think I would have ever started a YouTube channel or a blog. And so for me, it was a moment of like self-exploration. So it was also an opportunity for me to learn myself and what I was capable of. And so I actually created my blog in 2020 or 2021, and then I opened my YouTube channel in 2022. And so it was yes, I know it was like a period like which was not fun for many people. I get it. But for me, it was a moment of growth and self-exploration, I would say.
So now, where can we get this book of yours?
It's available on Amazon, and you can basically purchase it there. You can buy the online version, or you can buy the paper book version, and it's available. It can be purchased from any part of the world, basically.
Of course, of course. And any ideas for another book?
Yeah, I do have another idea. I know I'm gonna self-publish another book. Um, I do want to talk about more about like lessons that I learned as a South Asian woman. That's the topic of my second book. Uh, I have started to write it. I just haven't decided when it will be published, but I am very much focused on getting, like, I'm very determined to have a second book published because I wasn't expecting myself to be a writer. So once I published the first book, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to self-publish another one. I think it just gave me a big boost. And so that's what I want to focus my second book about. And I do feel like self-publishing, like your own book, is it's a big accomplishment. I feel like not many people are able to do that. So the fact that I can like say that I'm a self-published author makes me feel very important. Like I feel important, you know?
Oh, that's nice. That's great. That's great. How are sales?
So what I can tell you is that, of course, I invested money to have it self-published. I haven't even reached the break even yet. But I did get a couple of sales from the book. So yeah, I just have to work as hard. Like I have to work hard to get it promoted as much as possible. But I'm positive about that. I know that I'm gonna like make profit out of it. So it's just about like getting it out there, making a lot of promotion.
Yeah, it
So
is.
yeah.
Yeah. Any plans on doing readings or book signings, anything like that? Getting out in the public?
So I actually tried to get it out there at Indigo, and I'm still waiting to hear back from them. And it's like I don't know why it's like it takes so long, but I told them that I want my book to be there at the Indigo store. I'm still waiting, but I'm like very determined to have it there, so I don't give up. So I'm gonna keep emailing them until they get back to me.
All right. Wow.
Yeah.
Any final words you want to say about anything else you may have, a website or anything else?
Yes, I do have a website, my blog. It's called myways.ca. So I do publish a lot of things. I talk about career, I talk about public speaking, I talk about language learning, I talk about personal branding. So I do talk about a lot of things, and it's all based on my own experience. Then, of course, I have my YouTube channel, which is called Urmi Hossain. My book, of course, is available on Amazon. I also have a LinkedIn profile, which is called Urmi Hossain. And I do post a lot of like interviews and podcast interviews where I've been, and YouTube channels where I've been. And I have my Instagram page or Instagram account, which is called Urma Mio.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank
For
you.
me, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and I wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Take care now.
Bye.
And that's our show for today. If you like what I do here on Tell Me About Your Book, then please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell for future notifications. And if you are a self-published author, I would really like to speak with you. Until such time, keep on writing and be kind to one another.